Spain, Ireland, and Norway have recognized the State of Palestine. They are the first European countries to take this decision following the Hamas terrorist attacks in October 2023 and the start of the war in Gaza.
The governments of Madrid, Dublin, and Oslo have specified that this recognition is not against the people of Israel.
Belgium is also expected to join this group of countries. However, they ultimately withdrew due to the lack of unity in the coalition government. Slovenia and Malta are considering joining in the near future when conditions are suitable.
And let's review 5 key issues that allow understanding.
Why have they decided to recognize the State of Palestine? According to the heads of government of these 3 countries, recognizing Palestine represents a step forward towards solving the conflict between Israel and Palestine. The war in Gaza has resulted in nearly 40,000 deaths and over 1 million displaced people. Additionally, Israel has destroyed most of Palestine's infrastructure with the goal of destroying Hamas. If we add to this the settlements that Israel is building in the West Bank, the chance of a sovereign Palestinian state one day existing are increasingly slim.
The decision of these nations to acknowledge Palestine is a means to maintain the two-state resolution alive, where they can exist side by side in harmony. It is also a signal to Israel to abide by international law. Essentially, the global community appears to be less inclined to acknowledge a fresh occupation of additional Palestinian territories, and Palestine is optimistic that this acknowledgement will result in increased backing within the international arena. However, let us examine the second point.
What will change with the recognition of Palestine by these countries? It is important to remember that the recognition of a state is a unilateral act. According to international law, only governments have the authority to recognize a state. For a state to exist, there must be a defined population, a defined territory, and a government that has authority over all this. However, the reality is much more complex. In fact, there are de facto states that are not recognized by all, such as Kosovo, and others that exist only de jure, like the case of Palestine, which has been recognized by the United Nations, but does not have its own sovereign state entity.
The act of recognizing a state is ultimately a political action that represents a country's stance on a specific international issue or matter of importance. Spain and Ireland, furthermore, do not need the approval of the European Union, which does not have competence in this matter. In the case of Spain, the recognition of Palestine will not change much.
The Spanish government has announced that it will not open an embassy in Ramallah, where the headquarters of the Palestinian National Authority is located. The Spanish Consul General in Jerusalem will be the official representative of Spain to the new possible state. The Spanish embassy in Israel, it is not located in Jerusalem, but in Tel Aviv. The Palestinian diplomatic representation in Spain already has the status of an embassy. But let's also look at the third key issue. What territory is recognized as the State of Palestine? The problem is that the State of Palestine, as such, does not exist. In 1948, the United Nations established the international borders of Israel and Palestine. But these borders have never really been respected. In 1988, Palestine unilaterally declared its independence without delineating its borders, but implicitly recognizing the existence of Israel within the limits of the so-called Green Line, a border that Israel does not recognize. With the Oslo Accords of 1993, Israel granted a limited form of self-government to the Palestinians. However, at the same time, it has been encouraging a colonization process that has led to hundreds of thousands of Jews settling in territories originally belonging to the Palestinians.
The issue is that after the Oslo agreements, the peace process has never advanced again. There has been no progress towards a two-state solution. On the contrary, some sectors of the Israeli government openly reject this situation.
And the fourth key issue would be considering that now how many other countries have already recognized Palestine since the start of the war in October 2023. Another 4 countries have taken the step to recognize Palestine: Jamaica, Bahamas, Trinidad and Tobago, and Barbados. In total, with the 3 just declared, 146 countries recognize Palestine worldwide. But among these 146, none are part of the G7, that is, the closest allies of the United States. Also, in the European Union, only a minority have recognized Palestine. In 1988, the United Nations General Assembly granted Palestine the status of a non-member observer state, the same status held for example, by the Vatican. This has allowed the Palestinian National Authority to participate in the activities of the main UN agencies. However, the US veto in the Security Council has so far prevented the definitive establishment of Palestine as a state. In 2024, the General Assembly voted by an absolute majority to extend Palestine's status.
Starting in September, it will have a seat in the hemicycle of the member states, will have the freedom to intervene, and will be able to present proposals. However, it will not be able to vote or propose candidates for the United Nations organs.
And as the last key issue, we must ask what happens with the countries that do not recognize Palestine. The United States, Israel itself, and the rest of the European Union countries that do not recognize Palestine maintain relations with the Palestinian National Authority.
In certain instances, they have conferred diplomatic status upon their delegations. Nonetheless, it is also an independent decision of every state, not obligatory.
In fact, all these countries that do not recognize Palestine are usually close allies of Israel and are among its main arms suppliers. This recognition is considered a reward for Hamas terrorists. Bilateral diplomatic relations, at least initially, are destined to deteriorate because in Israel, the anger over this decision is significant.
The USA has also expressed its rejection of the decision by Spain, Ireland, and Norway. In fact, President Biden supports the two-state solution, but believes that the Palestinian state should be the result of direct negotiations between the two parties and not through the unilateral recognition of other countries.
Anyway, the situation remains very complicated.